welcome back, or welcome for the first time if you're new. Today I have a pretty exciting video coming for you. Last video, I said that we were going to begin doing presuppositional apologetics together. And specifically, I said that we were going to start looking at other worldviews and critiquing them, putting them against the Christian worldview to show how the Christian worldview is supreme, how it answers the questions in life that make up a worldview best. So we're going to do that today. But we're going to actually do a short mini-series, a two-part series on a person. We are going to study not the entire life of this person, but simply one event in this person's life. For this video and next video, we're going to break it down into a two-part little mini-series here. So the person that I want to talk about is Ayaan Hirsi Ali. If you haven't heard of her, she has a fascinating story. I'd recommend going and checking it out more online. But she essentially was born in Africa, became a part of the Muslim Brotherhood, and was there actively serving there for many years. She eventually moved to the Netherlands, then to the United States, where she now serves in a university. But a huge development took place this past year in her life. And essentially it was this. So again, as I mentioned, she started out and she was a Muslim. Then she moved to the Netherlands and she forsook her Muslim faith. She renounced it. And then somewhere along the way, she actually became an atheist. She became not only an atheist, she didn't just say, I don't believe in God, but she became part of the new atheists, as they are still called today. The new atheists, if you're not familiar with them, they're simply a group of atheists who go further than just saying that God doesn't exist. But they essentially say, God does not exist, and religion is the root of all evils in the world, so I'm going to actively try to sort of like evangelize for atheism. I'm going to try to pull people away and help them to see the reality that religion is not a good thing. They should forsake it, and ultimately us as a society should forsake it as well. So not only did Ayaan become a new atheist, but she became an incredibly influential atheist. In fact, Christopher Hitchens, who might be the most famous atheist or new atheist out of all the group, he called her the most important public figure probably ever to come out of Africa, is what he said about Ayaan. That is a little snippet about Ayaan. So, but fast forward to this past year, we're looking back, we're in a new year now, and looking back at this past year, the event that I want to talk about in Ayaan's life was that she went from a new atheist to expressing Christian faith. And why I want to talk about her today, because why does she matter, right? Tons of people claim the Christian faith every year, newly. But as I looked at the story and what happened in Ayaan's life, I was just baffled, because I saw presuppositional apologetics all over the story. It's pretty amazing to me. So what I want to do in this little two-part series on Ayaan Hirsi Ali is this first video right now. I want to simply talk about how presuppositional apologetics, how God sort of used that in her life to bring her to this Christian faith now. And with that said, I want to say what this video is not, quickly. This video is not me saying, oh, Ayaan has believed. Aha! Therefore you should believe too. No, I'm not saying that in this video. But the point of this video is not to say, look, we got one, or like an atheist just believed, like she believed, why shouldn't you, or anything like that. I'm not saying that I know and believe that Ayaan is this faithful Christian and we should look at her as a model of our faith. I don't know. There's so much that I don't know about her. I've never met her. I hope and pray the best for her, but I'm not saying that. And then lastly, I'm not saying by talking about her, I will talk about her in more of a positive light. And by doing that, though, I'm not saying that I agree with everything she said. or everything she's currently saying or what she will say in the future. Although, in the essay that she wrote and in the video that she was in that I'm going to talk about, I will say that I do agree with a lot of what she says, but this is not me condoning everything that comes out of her mouth. But that said, this first video, I just want to show by her story, I just want to give another example of presuppositional apologetics at work. And I know some folks in the comments have asked me, does presuppositional apologetics really work? Or is this something that you're just trying to teach other Christians who are kind of intellectually interested? And this just shows you, again, it's another example of how presuppositional apologetics does work, especially in our day and age. So that's what I want to do with this video. That's why I'm talking about this subject. So let's dive in. Okay, so first off, I said that Ayaan, she now claims to be a Christian. Praise the Lord. Again, we pray that God would carry this on in her unto true salvation in Jesus Christ. But she announced this with an essay that she wrote. And I'm going to have a link to this essay in the notes of this YouTube video. I encourage you to read it and check it out. But she first sent out an essay, and then a few months later, she went on Unheard, which was the platform in which she wrote the essay, and she did an interview, which really expounded upon a lot of the things that she wrote in the essay. So we're going to talk about both of those things today. And we're going to see how presuppositional is working in those things. And the point of this is to just further teach you, as I've further been taught this week, about what really is presuppositional apologetics. What is its value in our day and age? We're going to see it in this story. It's great. Okay, let's get into it. So she said, well, the question is, we have to ask, okay, so Ayaan is a deeply intellectual, influential person. What brought on this change to Christianity? Why did she become a Christian, from a supposed Christian, from new atheism? Well, she addresses that very question right here, or in the essay. She says, the essay says, she writes, what changed? Why do I call myself a Christian? So in this essay and in the interview that she did that we're going to be talking about, she really gives two broad reasons why she became a Christian. And again, they're both totally presuppositional apologetics. But so the first reason that she gives in the essay for becoming a Christian is essentially she sees that there are major problems that our society here in the West, in the United States specifically, is facing. And they're growing and growing and growing in her eyes. And she essentially believes that that Christianity is the greatest solution at combating these three threats that she perceives. She says this, actually. She says, the only credible answer, I believe, lies in our desire to uphold the legacy of the Judeo-Christian tradition. Well, that's it right there. So one reason why she became a Christian, she says in the essay, is because she perceives these three huge problems that are coming in our society, and she believes that Christianity, Jesus, who he is, what he lays out in the Bible, who God is, who the God of Christianity is the solution to these impending serious threats that we have. That's presuppositional apologetics, right? It's saying that nothing else has the answers. There are problems, there is brokenness in this world. What's the greatest solution? Well, it's provided in Christianity. And that's what she believes. And that's one reason why she just explicitly says that she's now a Christian. It's funny, later in the interview she did on Unheard, she was asked this. She said, "Do you believe in God as creator?" And she said in response to this, it was so funny. She said, quote, "I want to sidestep that question." She says, "I choose to believe that story because the legacy of that story is what we're living through. It's a story that says that human life is worth living because it's in the image of God. And instead of seeking God somewhere out there who's ordering you to do all sorts of things, God is something in you. So what she's saying here is she says is when this guy tries to ask her, so do you believe in God as creator? And many of us can see where this was probably going, like evolution, naturalism, these types of things. And that would lead us to say, well, what is the evidence for God? She said she totally sidestepped that question. She didn't want to talk about evidence or scientific proofs or philosophical arguments. She went straight to the idea that the story of Christianity is what has led us to all the successes that we've had here in the West, and the fact that she believes that it's going to continue to be the best solution possible. Therefore, she believes. That is presuppositional apologetics. As we continue, I want to highlight something else she said. She said, I also turned, this is her second reason for changing and claiming Christianity now. She says, quote, I also turned to Christianity because I ultimately found life without any spiritual solace unendurable. Indeed, very nearly self-destructive. Atheism failed to answer this simple question. What is the meaning and purpose of life? She goes on in the interview that she does, because there's only a certain amount of space that she had to write in the essay on Unheard. So she goes on in the video interview when she's asked about this. She talks about how she went through this personal period in her life where she was riddled with anxiety, fear, and depression. She got the best therapist that money could buy, and they tried everything. She read every book on neurology and the brain. She read every psychology, psychiatry book she could. She medicated herself with medicine, with tons of alcohol, she says. She says she did everything. And finally, her and her therapist just figured out that she was spiritually bankrupt. So she got to the point where she was totally hopeless. And her therapist just said, you know what? Why don't you just open yourself up again and consider the possibility of God? And to this, she said, I don't know if I can do that, because the God that I know, she was talking about the Muslim God that she grew up knowing. She said, I hated this God. She said that the God that I knew was, quote, a horror show. He lived to punish, to frighten, to treat you as trash as a woman. She was not about to open herself up to God. And then her therapist asked a great question. The therapist said, well, why don't you think about what kind of God you would want? Why don't you come up with the God that you think would be best? Why don't you create a God, the ideal God that you would like to have? And she said that as she was doing this, quote, she realized that she was describing Jesus. And she said, Christianity at its best. As she was doing this, it was funny. She said, I just realized that the God that I was coming up with in my mind already had a name. I didn't have to invent some God or be a part of this new ageism that just kind of takes something from here and there and there and here. She said, the God that I was creating was Jesus. So I say all of this just to say that she came to claim Jesus and Christianity for two reasons. One, she was bankrupt at the end of her rope, spiritually, emotionally dead, at a loss. She found that Jesus was the ultimate and best solution, the only one who could fill the hole in her and satisfy her and call her to something higher. And secondly, she came to Christianity because she sees that Jesus and his way of life and the gospel is the only solution to the most serious problems that we face. She didn't come to faith. Now, again, I'm not discrediting, because I believe that there's value in other forms of apologetics. I just want to show you and reaffirm the value and efficiency and effectiveness of presuppositional apologetics. She sees Christianity as the ultimate worldview, the complete worldview. She sees it as the only thing that can be a solution, personally and socially and globally. That's why she has come to believe. And I just want to end with a couple quotes from her. She said, unless we offer something as meaningful, she's talking about, again, these problems that our society is facing. I'll talk about them more in the next video. Unless we offer something as meaningful, I fear the erosion of our civilization will continue. And fortunately, there is no need to look for some new age concoction of medication and mindfulness. She says Christianity has it all. And she also said, I discover a little more at church each Sunday, but I have recognized in my own long journey through a wilderness of fear and self-doubt that there's a better way to manage the challenges of existence than either Islam or unbelief had to offer. And you can already see that there's bits in there of critiquing other worldviews over against the Christian one. We're going to get there next week because she has a lot to say about that. But for today, I just want to end with this. This is from Luke chapter 16. Jesus is telling a parable. We often call it the rich man and Lazarus. He's telling a story, and he says that there was a rich man who was clothed in purple and fine linen and feasted sumptuously every day. And at his gate was laid a poor man named Lazarus, covered with sores, who desired to be fed with what fell from the rich man's table. Moreover, even the dogs came and licked his sores. The poor man died and was carried by the angels to Abraham's side. The rich man also died and was buried. The rich and the poor end up in the same place. And in Hades, being in torment, he, being the rich man, lifted up his eyes and saw Abraham far off and Lazarus at his side. And he called out, Father Abraham, have mercy on me, and send Lazarus to dip the end of his finger in water and cool my tongue, for I am in anguish in all this flame. But Abraham said, Child, remember that you in your lifetime received your good things, and Lazarus in like manner bad things. But now he is comforted here, and you are in anguish. And besides all this, between us and you there is a great chasm that has been fixed, in order that those who would pass from here to you may not be able, and none may come from there to us. And he said, Then I beg you, Father, to send him to my father's house. For I have 5 brothers, so that he may warn them, lest they also come into this place of torment. But Abraham said, They have Moses and the prophets. Let them hear them. And he said, No, Father Abraham, but if someone goes to them from the dead, like Lazarus, they will repent. He said to them, Abraham said, If they do not hear Moses and the prophets, neither will they be convinced if someone should rise from the dead. My point in reading that is to say that it's not a lack of information. That's not the reason that people are not saved. It's because of the states of their hearts. It took Ayaan Hirsi Ali, it took her to hit rock bottom before she finally opened up and saw the reality of Jesus in the beauty and sufficiency, in the truth, in the healing power, in the higher calling that has meaning and purpose in life. It took her that to see the truth. Neither will they be convinced if someone should rise from the dead. It's a matter of not wanting to believe. So our hope and prayer is that we can show people the comprehensiveness, the consistency, and the peace that Jesus brings when we truly know him. Tune in next video where we continue with this, looking at the story of Ayaan Hirsi Ali, and we're going to hear how she critiques some other worldviews in light of her newfound faith in Jesus, specifically atheism and Islam. Very fascinating. So until then, be blessed. Have a great day.